Welcome to the Guitar Dads Podcast, the podcast for guitar dads by guitar dads. This week, a reunion we've been dreading is on. Will the Nuge get a stranglehold on the Hall and follow the money? Is the old not worth it anymore? Stock prices aren't the only thing dropping this week on the Guitar Dads Podcast. Now, the guys who haven't been worth it from the beginning, Matt and Dave.
Hello, everybody. I'm Matt.
And I'm Dave, and welcome to the show, everybody. Welcome in. We are glad to have you on board. Another Guitar Dads week. We are going to cover a lot today, or tonight, or whenever you're listening to this, you know. So, what's up, man? What's up, Matt?
What's up, dude? Here we are.
We are here.
We're back at it. We're back at it. Thank you to our listeners. Thanks for hanging out with us.
Yes, thank you. As we say all the time, thank you to the loyal listeners. We appreciate you guys coming back every week. Thank you. You guys really keep the thing going. And if you're new, thanks for hanging out. Hope you join us next week. Hope we don't bore you to death. And if you don't know, you can go find us on Instagram at Guitar Dads Podcast. And you can find us on Facebook. Come join the group. Facebook at Guitar Dads Podcast over there. And of course, the most important, if you don't mind, if you want to support the show, head over to patreon.com/Guitar Dads Podcast, where we have an array of tiers, not crying tiers like levels of support. If you want to support us, you guys get enough tears just by listening to us. So, I was going to go the opposite. I was going to say, if you join this, you're going to have tears of joy. Tears of joy. That should be a new tier on Patreon. Yeah, man. That tier would include you don't have to listen to the show.
Tears of joy. All right, here we go. What are we into, Dave?
I don't know, man. It's a Thursday night. It's been a long week for both of us, so it's probably going to be free and flying. So if you're listening to this in your car or anywhere where there may be kids around, you might want to turn us off right now. I just
poured a drink. We tend to keep it clean over here. If you want,
we do.
If you want a little unclean, go to the Patreon.
We do, but it may not be as clean tonight as it usually is. So if you are listening around your children, you choose to turn it down tonight because it's going to be free flying. Free flying.
Not free falling, Dave?
Not free falling. No, not free falling. Free flying.
'Cause I'm free.
Well, speaking of free falling, let's get into the Dadaverse. Shall we get into it? Oh, I stole your line.
The Dadaverse.
The Dadaverse.
Right, let's get into it. There's some big news. Well, not really.
Well, there actually is some big news. We've talked about this a little bit, and of course, it's been rumored for a long time.
Yeah,
and I think it's too little, too late. But so apparently, Richie Sambora and John Bon Jovi have confirmed they've been discussing a reunion.
Ooh.
So my question to you is, how unexcited are we?
Yeah. Do you think you guys know I really love Bon Jovi. I'm a big fan. Do you think like Bon Jovi's overstayed their welcome?
Yes. Well, no. Yes and no, because John can't sing.
Yeah, but he still has this crazy fan base, though.
I know.
I'm one of them. I love it. Am I going to go see him live? No.
No, because it would be terrible. This reunion should have happened at least a number of years ago. Even though John still had struggles singing, his vocals haven't been good for a long time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's a cool. You know what? I like this because I'm a huge Bon Jovi fan, and I think this is a nice way to kind of put a bow on it. So I like the idea.
Yeah. Maybe they do like one more tour with Richie. Yeah, and then it's over. Although I'll tell you the truth, like I've said this a million times on this pod, which is Bon Jovi is not bad. He just can't sing the old songs anymore. The same way Robert Plant can't sing the old songs anymore.
That's true.
Right?
It's true.
Like, he should transition. Like, if you listen to that 2020 album, it's actually not bad. His singing sounds good because he's in a range that he can actually do now. I mean, Our voices evolve as we get older, and, like, he can't sing like that anymore. So, like, stop trying to do it. You know, just like Vince Neil. Like, although it's hard to argue that Vince Neil can sing anything well now, but maybe he can't. Like, I don't know. Maybe he can. You know, maybe he can like sing some country songs and he sounds great. I don't know. But like, I think John Bon Jovi needs to to do that and transition into that, like going out there and trying to do Living on a Prayer and, you know, and Shot Through the Heart and all that stuff. Like it's like,
but isn't that why you go? Come on,
yes,
man.
that is why you go.
You go to hear these songs.
And I would be willing to bet that, you know, 90% of the people that go could care less what John sounds like, right? He's got like an army. I mean, listen, he's got an army of people on stage singing with him anyway, so who really cares? So anyway,
I mean, people don't seem to care about Vince Neil. People don't seem to care about other bands that are out there not doing it really well anymore. Yeah. So, you know,
agreed.
Hey, so I mean, back. Obviously. Bring Richie back. Put a bow on it. Don't do an extensive tour. People will go. Of course, the people are going to go. It's going to sell out. It's going to be insane. But my question, though, I thought about this earlier today. Are they going to keep Phil X in the band on the tour for the, you know? Let's say they make a new record, maybe they will. But if they don't, if they're just going to tour, do they keep Phil X on tour?
That's a really good question. I mean, think about all the awesome guitar work that could go on between Phil X and Richie Sambora. I mean, it could be awesome.
Yeah.
No, I don't think they're gonna like kick Phil X to the curb. I mean, he's been with them for so long now, but maybe they do. I don't know. We'll see what happens. We'll see how it works. It's interesting. I still maintain Sambora is an underrated 80s guitarist.
Yes.
You know, wrote some amazing stuff and riffs and the whole thing. I mean, just awesome. So be glad to see him back.
Yeah, definitely. And they are in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, correct?
They are.
Speaking of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, did you hear the news? So Jan Wenner, I hadn't heard this name. So before
I don't know who that even is.
I didn't know who it was. He's a co-founder of Rolling Stone magazine.
Okay,
we probably should have known that. And he's a member of the Rock Hall. I know.
He's also a member
of the. Well, he's also a member of the Rock Hall board.
Okay.
And he apparently made some disparaging comments in his upcoming book. The book is called The Masters, and it's kind of like
it's about a golf tournament?
No. Yes, it is. Which is why he made disparaging remarks about black and female artists. You know, because we're talking about the Masters. So, but anyway.
Wait, he did?
So he didn't. I don't know. I mean, you can read this a lot of different ways. They certainly weren't great remarks. He probably could have chosen his words a lot better. He did explain it. It didn't really do that well, the explanation either. But I think his point was, you know, this book is really about a lot of the highlights in his career and stuff like that. But the way he kind of approached why, you know, when he was asked why he put what he put in the book, you know, the comments were kind of disparaging. So,
wow.
Anyway, he has since apologized and admitted that he chose some words badly.
I'm like Owen Wilson. I'm like Owen Wilson over here. Wow.
You are.
Wow.
But he I guess the reason I bring this up is because Ted Nugent was interviewed recently and it was asked of him about this. And he, of course, you know, in typical Ted fashion, was very vocal about it. But he was asked about now that, because he's apparently he's long hated this guy. And it was asked of him, now that Wenner is out, do you think you have a shot of getting in the Rock Hall finally? Ted kind of blew it off. He doesn't really care about the Rock Hall, that kind of thing. But he did, you know, go off about Jan Wenner in his comments and how he's a racist and all this shit. So
wow,
there you go. I mean, which is ironic, you know. Ted is a very outspoken dude.
The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is kind of BS.
It's a bunch of BS.
We've talked about that a lot on this podcast.
You guys know how we feel.
So this kind of just like solidifies that for me, that this guy is, you know, making some controversial comments. But I love how, of course, Ted Nugent takes an opportunity.
You need a list. Even if we've been very outspoken about how we feel about the Rock Hall, but I still think there is some need for a list of the elite of the elite, and that is really the Rock Hall, whatever you want to call it. Do you think Ted belongs in it, though?
Yeah, I think Ted Nugent is important enough to rock and roll that he should probably be in it.
Totally.
One thing that I'll say, Dave, we just sit here and bash the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. What if we were given the honor to vote in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, like to be a part of like the voting people, like Eddie Trunk?
Are you making an announcement tonight?
What if we would? No. What if we were?
Do we get credentials?
Would we change our tune damn fast?
About how we feel about the Rock Hall? Yeah, of course we. Are you kidding? I sell out, no problem. You know me.
Well, no, but they wouldn't pay you to do it. It would just
I know,
this honor of doing it, and then
we're relatively sell out. Yeah, I'd change my mind. Sure.
If we got that phone call, you and I would be the first ones to come on there and be like, "Guess what, guys? We get to vote on the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame." Oh,
but yeah, Ted is a huge name in music. He's really he doesn't. I'm not putting him on the same level as the Cobains of the world, but he does. He does kind of ride. He rides that line between like pop culture icon and rock star, right? So
yeah, no, he definitely is like a hero to your right wing, faction of people.
Yeah, and feel however you want about politics. We're not talking about politics, but he is also known outside of the music world as well. So,
but he's very political. He really speaks his mind. He definitely is on the right side of on the right. He's on the conservative side of politics, and he, and so he's got a following because of that, and But it is interesting, like through this kind of Trump era, he isn't as kind of he comes out and he's kind of outspoken, but I think like Trump kind of like trumped him to some extent. So I don't know if he's like as big
I see
of
what
a
you did there.
I don't think he's as politically important as he used to be. To be honest with you, yeah. But anyway,
he's a freaking killer guitar player.
Oh yeah, I mean, look, go back and listen.
Insane.
Go back and listen to that stuff. It's awesome. I mean, the guy was awesome. So
yeah, and he still can play. But anyway, there's Ted. There's the whole Rock Hall thing.
And there's the Rock Hall thing. That's interesting stuff, man. Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, sorry, I'm trying to type in a password here to something. It's not working.
Don't type in a password.
Well, I gotta load some stuff up here.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's the news for the week. It was kind of it wasn't really a light week, but in terms of what we like to talk about, what you guys probably want to hear, it was a light week.
Okay.
Unless you want to hear a bunch of BS.
Yeah. What else are we on to?
We're bringing back another segment tonight, which we haven't done for a little while, but bands you should be listening to.
Yes.
This is one of our favorite segments. You guys seem to like it as well. So we're going Southern rock again. We're going Southern rock. This seems to be somewhat of a theme. This is a band out of Alabama. They released a 6-song EP in 2017 and a full album called Lost in the Valley of Hate and Love Volume 1 in 2020. I think it was 23. I think it was this year. And they are brothers Frank and James Ford. I believe Frank is the drummer, and I think I want to say James is the vocalist.
Oh, geez, I don't know.
But anyway, the band is called Them Dirty Roses. Really good Southern rock. I checked them out earlier this week. Really dug what they were doing, and we think you should too.
Yeah, I checked them out. Yeah, like good, I mean, it is Southern rock, but it's like it's a little heavier. It's like heavier Southern rock. Right.
Well, were you also listening to the other band I sent you? Who else did I send you?
Hold on.
Oh man, what were they called?
Hold on.
I found another band that
you found another. That I just happened to.
Yeah, and this was thanks to the algorithm on Instagram. But I was scrolling through, and all of a sudden I hear this great music. I'm like, who are these guys? But see, you can find some great stuff on social media.
Red Voodoo. Yeah.
So Red Voodoo, they're pretty good. You know what Red Voodoo's doing? What? They're doing a Sammy birthday bash tribute.
That's how we found them. They're called Red Voodoo. Yeah, this band Red Voodoo is pretty good. They only have 3 songs, as far as I can tell, Dave, out that you can listen to. Maybe there's more on YouTube. We were just looking on Apple Music. But good stuff, like good riffs, good singing, great guitar solos.
Great guitars.
I would check them out. Red Voodoo. And yeah, Them Dirty Roses, another great band that we discovered. Dave kind of discovers most of these bands.
Yeah, I take it. I discovered them. Now they're big because of me.
But Them Dirty Roses, yeah, I really like them, Dave. They have that Southern rock, but they're not like blackberry smoke Southern rock. They're kind of heavier than that.
They're heavier than that. Yeah. Like, what do we call it? I think we've termed it before, like that modern Southern rock kind of feel.
Yeah. That's what I would call them. But yeah, I think they're great. You should go check them out. We're gonna try.
Now, was that a subgenre Would that be a subgenre of rock, of Southern rock, like modern Southern rock?
Yes, I would say that's true. Yeah, that's what I would call it.
Yeah,
I just pulled up a couple of things to remind myself.
Oh, you did? Oh, did you?
Yeah, these guys
remind yourself of what?
They do have a ballad.
They do. Yeah, they got a couple of good songs.
Yeah, check them out, guys. There you go. Bands you should be listening to. How cool is that? We're back on that train. We're also going to talk. We're also in a future episode. A bunch of our favorite bands release some new material. Dirty Honey is due to release an album in November. Is that right, Dave? Hold on.
Yeah, they are.
Yes. Second. They are, yeah.
They've been pumping out some singles.
Yeah, they have 2 singles out, which I really like. Go check them out. Yeah, I think it doesn't say here, but November 3rd, 2023 is when it's coming out.
Yeah, it's coming out, man.
So they're coming out with another album, which I think is going to be great. So we can talk more about that. Robert John and the Wreck came out with some music. Dave hasn't listened to all this stuff. We're going to listen to all this new stuff, and we'll get back to you on what it sounds like. It's been a busy few
weeks, man, for both of us at work, and so we've been kind of like straggling. We're stragglers.
It's always busy for me at work. It never stops.
Yeah. But anyway, we digress.
That's the way it goes.
Hey, do you know what time it is?
Uh-oh.
You know what time it is? Oh, it's the dad joke segment of the week. As Matt takes a sip of wine, you might need to down the whole bottle.
I wish I had a shot of whiskey.
Yeah, I have some whiskey.
I got
right
my
here. I am drinking
Creek upstairs.
Why didn't you pour the Knob Creek tonight?
Yeah, I need it tonight, bro.
I'm drinking my this is a Walcott offering, which is distilled by Barton 1792. And it's a higher proof tonight that I'm drinking.
Ooh,
we're gonna get a little loose.
What are you at, a 120?
Loose.
What are you at, a 120 proof?
This is a buck 20. Yeah, it's a buck 20. I'm taking it slow. It slow. So you might hear the decline as the show goes.
Yeah,
on.
Stick around for the Patreon. It's gonna get interesting.
Yeah,
it's gonna get crazy. Anyway,
dad joke segment. Here we go. All right, you ready?
All right.
So my cell phone accidentally took a 10-minute video of my shoes yesterday. It was some pretty good footage.
Beep, beep, ba-doo, blue. That is a lame one, man.
That's a lame one. That's a dad joke. That's a dad joke. Anyway.
Speaking of subgenres, that made me think of like this subgenre called shoegaze.
Yes.
Like this it's just hilarious that there's like a subgenre of music about staring at your shoes.
We gotta, I know. Right. There's so many we can't be we are naming too many things. I think we've reached a point in society where everything needs a name. Everything needs multiple names.
Exactly.
And they all mean the same thing. And it's generational too, because younger people call one thing by one name, and an older generation calls the exact same thing by a different name.
Yeah.
And we're all talking about the same shit.
Shoegaze. I love that so much.
Yeah, shoegaze. Anyway, there's your dad joke for the week.
There's your dad joke. Here we go. What are we into next? We're like jumping to segments left and right over here.
We are segment jumping tonight.
All right, what's the next segment?
So we're going to move on to our listener mailbag of the week. We had a comment in the group today from John Jerusik. I hope I'm saying her last name right.
Yeah.
But thanks for posting. This is actually a really good. We've talked about this a little bit.
We have
way back, but it's a very interesting topic, and I think it is regional. So we're gonna bring it up. He was talking about a few other things, but I found that this is a pretty interesting topic to discuss tonight. Is the day of the guitar store over? Now he meant, I think, like
the mom and pop store.
I think he meant like the mom and pop shop.
Yeah, right? Yeah. We have touched on this a lot in this pod, but kind of the conversation we had is, yes, it's basically over, right? And I think it's getting worse. I like everywhere I travel. I don't travel a lot, but when I do travel places, I like to go into the local guitar stores, like those kind of mom and pop ones or just the long-standing ones, and talk to the people in there. And it does seem like it's getting harder and harder to maintain like a big inventory, especially of Gibson and Fender, just because like the capital requirements to get started with them are very high. You just have to buy a lot of stuff to get in with them. So there's some barrier to entry there, of course. And I think it's hard, right? And, you know, there used to be these things, and I think they still exist, but I see less and less of them. You know, these kind of mom and pop stores that are in like your little hometown, and there's a guy doing guitar lessons as well, right? I think those are dying as well, and I think part of it is because, you know, you can take guitar lessons over the internet for pretty easily. Right?
Yes.
I think there's still a place for your local guitar teacher, and I'm sure they're still out there, but I just don't think there is as many as there used to be, right? So yeah, I think we are in this place because of, you know, just the evolution of the industry, that like the small shop is kind of over. I mean, we've lamented this a lot about the Boston guitar store scene.
I was just going to say though, we talk about that, but now when you think about how many shops we actually do have in the area here, there's quite a few. You know, I mean, there's not a ton, but there's a number of them that are doing it right. You know, we've gone to Matt's Music. We've talked about Rick Tomasi's 2 shops with the pedal shop, and I forget the name of his other shop that's a little closer to us.
Yeah.
So there's those, and then Manchester Music Mill up in Manchester, New Hampshire. Yep. That's a bigger store, but it's, you know, also I guess they kind of qualify as mom and pop-ish, right? They're not part of a chain.
No, yeah, I would call it like an we should be clear.
They're
like
an independent music retailer.
Independent music retailers. I think you're right. No, there are pockets of them around if you look hard. But we have lamented this about what's going on in Boston. There's really only one store left, which is Mr. What is it, Dave?
Oh, in Boston proper?
Yeah, what is it? Mr. Is it Mr. Music? Yeah.
Is it Mr. Music?
I think it's Mr. Music. Yeah. Mr. Music in Alston.
Yeah.
That's the only kind of like independent one left. There used to be all these other cool kind of stores around Berklee College of Music. Those
used to be Daddy's Junkie Music, right?
Yeah,
that was kind of a Well, they had a couple shops.
Yeah,
but they were the main competitor, at least in that area, to Guitar Center.
Yeah, but there was I forget the name. Yeah, I forget the name of the store, but there was a long-standing vintage guitar store in that area of Berklee, not too far from where I work, and that closed a few years back. So there really isn't like a cool kind of, you know, independent store in Boston anywhere outside of Mr. Music. That's the only one that's left.
Right.
And you think like that's kind of unbelievable to think of, you know, the legacy that we have in Boston as producing all these, you know, amazing bands. And at one point there was this amazing scene. And now it's like,
there's a couple others. Yeah. There are a few others, but and the ones that I'm thinking of, when you walk in, you realize how bare they really are.
Oh, yeah.
You know, so it's like it's a dying breed. But there is one. I mean, I don't know if we have any listeners, anybody listening to this particular episode that live in near the North Shore of Massachusetts, but there's one in Peabody that's been there for a long time.
What's that?
Near the Trader Joe's, and I forget the name of it, of course. But I was actually in there last weekend because I didn't feel like going to Trader Joe's with the family. They actually had a few good things on the wall. They had some nice amps,
like
and they had a few good guitars on the wall. Nothing spectacular, but they also didn't have like, you know, the no-name brands that nobody in the crappy guitar kind of, like, you know, the couple $100 kind of guitars. They had some, you know, they had some Fenders, they had a couple Gibsons, and they had a somewhat of a selection. I wouldn't say it's anything great. I wouldn't go running over there, but it was nice to actually see a shop like that.
Wait a minute.
With some kind of quality. It's in that strip mall.
In the strip mall is it new? Has it been there a while?
No, it's not new. It's been there for a little while. Yeah.
How do I know? Is it Bill's?
Been there for a little while. Maybe it's called Bill's. I don't know. But yeah, it was just nice to kind of walk into a place like that, not be pressured by anybody, just kind of check out the wall.
Oh, I know what
the amps.
It's called Music and Arts.
Music and Arts. Yeah.
Yeah. I've been in there. No, that's. I mean, I don't mean to.
No, it's not.
I don't mean to bash. I don't mean to bash any local stores, but it's not. It doesn't have anything that I'd be all that interested. I've been in there a couple times.
Well, you're an elitist.
I think but I think it's cool. I think it's one of the stores that I'm talking about. What I was mentioning a few minutes ago. It's one of those stores that offers lessons to kids. It's like your local kind of music shop. It's not it's not trying to be like a cool guitar store, right?
No.
But
they have some decent things for sale.
Okay, all right, that's fair enough.
So if I think it would probably appeal to the newer guitar player, and maybe you've made it to the next level of your journey, and maybe you want to buy a little bit of a nicer guitar, and you don't want to, you're not kind of into that, big conglomerate like Guitar Center kind of thing, and you're not comfortable buying online. This may be a place that you go.
But they don't just do guitars, right? They do other instruments, and they offer lessons. They also do rentals for school, like thing like bands at school and stuff like that. So that's a kind of a different category. And that's what I was saying, that I'm surprised that even those have been drying up, right? Which they have been, but they're still, you're right, they're still kind of out there in these little pockets. You just have to know where to find them. But they're not. There's the idea of like a guitar store, that used to be like in a lot of little towns and even larger cities. I think it is dying. It just is, right? But to your point, it is cool that these other ones are popping up locally to us, like Matt's and Weymouth. But like Matt's and Weymouth, like, they've
been there for a long time.
It's in a weird place. Like, it's not like in the city. Like, Weymouth is like a suburb. I don't know, Dave, how far out of Boston? 20, 30 miles out of Boston to the south?
Yeah, it's a while.
It's in like a random place, right? And like Manchester Music Mill, amazing store. We love that place as well. And it's in Manchester, New Hampshire, right? So it's like... it's not near
the center of the universe.
It's not really near anything. So there's that. I don't mean to insult people that live near Manchester, but
no, like, that's not what you're saying. What you're saying is, like, in terms of we're talking about Boston, like, close to Boston, close to the city, where people are where it's a very populated area, and to find a mom and pop, quote unquote, music shop, there aren't any.
There's very few
in that area. You need to travel, to Matt's point. You need to travel far out of the city to find these places that we love.
Yeah, that's right.
But you need to travel. So that's Matt's point.
And that's definitely my point. And another thing we've talked about is the fact that the only ones that are able to survive, outside of these ones that, like we just talked about, that are kind of catering to education in schools, the only ones that are able to survive are people that can do a lot of stuff online, and work it as an online operation. Like Matt's is largely an online operation. I know Manchester Music Mill does a ton of online sales as well. And I know Guitar Pedal Shop, they do online sales. So you have to be able to do that. And I think that's where you have to evolve if you're going to be an independent shop. But I do think, Jonathan made the point. I think it's true that I think it's getting harder and harder, dealing with these big retailers, and dealing with the big companies that are used to dealing with larger retailers. And so, the barrier to entry is hard. It's hard to maintain that level of sales, to continue to kind of invest and buy at the level they want you to buy at. So I totally see that as a problem for independent shops, right? There's only so many Wildwood Guitars and Chicago Music Exchanges and the Music Zoo, and there's a bunch of them, but they're not in every city. You think there'd be like a major operation in every city. It's just not. And Mr. Music, for what it is, yes, I think they do have some new Fender stuff, but it's mainly a used store, a used guitar store.
Well,
which is cool. Don't get me wrong. That's a cool store.
Yeah, no, it's very... Yeah, but let me bring this point up. I think a lot of people... I think there's been a shift towards... just like everything else, there's been a huge shift towards online shopping. But I think in the guitar world, there are some very, very reputable online retailers. And Sweetwater isn't necessarily just online, but it's a huge online retailer.
Yeah.
It's mainly... So... But there's also, like Matt said, Wildwood. And there's other retailers who you can very much trust that you are going to get a quality instrument from. It's going to be perfectly shipped, and you can easily Go online,
return it,
purchase exactly what you want, return it if you don't like it, and you can believe everything that they tell you. They will stand by their sales. So I think there's a reason that people have shifted towards that, because there is that reliability.
Yeah.
I don't think if those types of places didn't exist, I don't think you would see as much of this dying breed of these, mom and pop type shops.
Yeah, I think that's right. And I also think that, one thing that I've experienced, I know you've experienced this as well, Dave, is that when if you're looking for a Fender or a Gibson or some other major brand guitar, and you want like a specific color and you want what you want, it's getting harder and harder to lay your hands on this stuff.
Yep.
Before you buy it. Like, look, if you want to, granted, if you want like a Squire, or if you want like, I don't know, like some of the Mexican made Fenders, you go to Guitar Centers, most of them have a lot of those in stock. Maybe not the exact color you want, but you can get your hands on them and play them. But like,
put your hands on them.
Gibsons, like, it gets a little bit harder to come by, right? Like, they don't necessarily have all these in stock all the time, especially if you don't live, like in Boston, we're kind of lucky because our Guitar Centers get some really good stuff, so you can get your hands on some of the higher end guitars. If you don't live near a store that gets the higher end stuff, you're never going to get your hands on, a Gibson custom shop or a Fender custom shop, or even like, you're never going to be able to see a guitar in person of a certain color. They might have like one Les Paul standard and one color that you don't like, right? Like,
right.
It is hard to do that. If you're somebody that wants to lay hands on the actual guitar you're going to buy, it's harder and harder to do these days. It just is.
Yeah, like those, like what are those, like what does Fender call those American vintage guitars? What do they call them?
Oh, you mean the American vintage?
Oh, you mean the American vintage?
Yes.
Anyway. Let's go back and listen.
Scenes from last week episode.
Scenes from last week's episode. All right. So thank you to Jonathan Jerusik for sending that comment in. It's an interesting topic, and we'll definitely keep covering it.
And what do you guys think? Yeah, like
Yeah, tell us what you guys think. Comment below.
Yeah.
Shall we move on to kind of our main headliner for the night? Although we've gone into a lot of stuff.
Yeah, we're just moving along. Go ahead. Tell me
rock
what's
and roll
next.
Train.
We have another topic we want to jump on.
Well, we have talked this topic to death on one side of the argument. Now we're seeing kind of a shift in the other direction. So as people know, tons of older artists are selling their catalogs to investors and bigger companies and all that stuff. And now I think some of these companies apparently are realizing that they're not as valuable as they once thought.
Yeah. So there was
an article that we're referencing here, I want to make sure I reference this correctly. This website called The Honest Broker. The guy is Ted. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. Ted Gioia. Yeah. And so anyway, he referenced a comment that a piece that he had written back in 2021 that the biggest player behind these deals was this company called Hypnosis. Even though they were a smaller company with, I think, under 100 employees, they had been acquiring at a record pace. No pun intended. They had like 100-song catalog, and they were raising a bunch of money to buy more. But now, a lot of these older songs are not as valuable as they once thought. They're not. So, do you want to go into this a little bit more, or where do you want to go with this?
I'll just,
because we could go a lot of different directions with this.
So I'll just start off by saying a lot of the deals that we discussed were bought by like the big music publishers like Sony or Universal Music Group or Warner. I don't know what this Hypnosis thing is or who they are. So they
own a lot. They own a ton.
Yeah, apparently they own a ton, and they're publicly traded to some extent. I don't know. I'm not really familiar with who they are and what they do. This guy seems to know about what they are and what they do. But so it is interesting. So what he's basically saying is this company Hypnosis that bought a bunch of song catalogs is turning around and selling them at like almost like at fire sale prices. It's not clear to me.
They just announced a plan. They just announced a plan to sell almost $500 million of its song portfolio.
Yeah, but this is
just to pay down its debt.
Do we know
right?
what's in their song portfolio?
We don't know. This article didn't mention what's in it.
This guy's a little bit shady. Like I think he's. So this is my take. I think this guy's overblowing this a little bit. Like they didn't like this hypnosis company didn't freaking buy Bob Dylan's catalog or
no.
You know,
who actually bought
Bruce
Bob
Springsteen's catalog? It's like Universal. It's the big publishers. So like I don't know if how much water this actually holds. This article, if I'm honest with you, Dave.
Well, I think it brings up an interesting point that, you know, we've talked about this. These companies, it was a worthwhile investment for both parties, right? Because these older artists, they're not getting any younger. They're not writing any really new music. And what do they might as well cash out now and make all this money. And we mentioned this when this first started. When we first started discussing this, we mentioned this concept of, well, of course it's going to be worth money, right? Because why wouldn't it? These companies own the rights to all this music. They can do whatever they want with it. They can put it in commercials. They can use it to do whatever they want. They get all the streaming revenue, all that stuff. So why not? But apparently, maybe that whole concept isn't necessarily 100% true, because maybe we've oversold how valuable some of this stuff really is.
And so this guy's I think that's true, and this guy's making that contention. And this is why I always said, you know, when we talked about these deals, what I always said was, I think it's probably a pretty good deal for the artist, because who the hell knows what's going to happen 100 years from now, right?
That's right.
You can take $500 million and invest it well, and your family and your grandchildren, great grandchildren could be set for life if it's invested properly, right?
That's right.
So it's like,
because Dylan was purchased by Sony for like it was rumored to be around 150 or 200 million, which was kind of a drop in the bucket compared to Springsteen, which was I think that was Warner, and that was 500 million.
But that's a lot of money, right? And I think to get
a lot of money,
to get that when you're alive, and to say, look at this, like this is my legacy, and I was able to monetize it. It's not just something that's going to live on, that, you know, who knows how long it's going to continue, you know. So, you know, this guy in this article is making the contention like the rock stars did what rock stars do. They screwed the man. My favorite quote from this article,
I guess maybe
my favorite quote from this article is Twisted Sister said, "We're not going to take it," but they did. A very large payout.
That's great.
So
if you take anything from this article, that's the
that's a good one. But you know, but it's a little bit shady. Like, maybe these guys like bought a bunch of stupid artist songs that nobody cares about anymore. I don't know. I find it hard to believe that that Bob Dylan's catalog isn't worth what it was worth a few years ago, or Bruce Springsteen's catalog is only worth a fraction of what it was worth a few years ago. That's bullshit.
No, but these companies also, the point, I think one of the things that he mentions in this article is that these companies that are purchasing like Hypnosis, and now I think there was a sale too. I think he mentioned something about Concord had stepped in to buy 150 songs or 50,000 songs. But these companies are not just like music companies. They're just like
they're investors, and just like
they're investors,
and just like any other investment, it gets speculated. The market goes up and then it goes down. Like that's the way investments work. You know, is that going to be a way? So that's the thing. Like, I think this guy takes it a step too far and like, oh, Bob Dylan screwed the man because he got a payout and now it's not worth anything. Like, that's just not a good. I don't buy that. It's not I don't buy that as a narrative that he's selling here. I just don't. We'll post the article in the group and you guys can make your own opinions on this. But like, but I think it is true. Like, I think because there was this hype around buying the catalogs of these major artists, all these other investment firms got involved. You know, Blackstone actually was involved and actually bought these rights from this Hypnosis group at like the fire sale price, because it's Blackstone. That's what they do. You know, so you like it got to like this place where like, oh, these big companies are doing it, there must be something to this. This must be somewhat of a viable investment. Then they went and bid all the prices up, and now they're like, oh, maybe we shouldn't have bid all the prices up. Because it's just like any other investment. Like, Bruce Springsteen is Bruce Springsteen. There's only one of them. You know what I mean?
That's right.
So it's like, I think that's the problem that's going on here. But it is an interesting case that happened here. So.
Well, we're going to do a little bit more of a dive into this. We'll finish this topic and more. We have some gear to get to, some gear news to get to in our Patreon episode. But we're going to kind of wrap up the main gig here. And we just want to thank you guys for listening this week. Thanks to our loyal listeners. And thank you if you're listening for the first time. We hope you come back next week for more. Go check us out at Guitar Dads Podcast. Over on Instagram and Facebook. We'll post this article on Facebook. We want to hear what you guys have to say. And as we would always appreciate, if you could go over to patreon.com/guitardadspodcast and help support the show. You guys really, we know you hear this on other shows. We get it. We hate to keep having to keep saying it, but we do really appreciate your support because it keeps it going. And if you like what we're doing, that would really help us out. So go over to patreon.com and /GuitarDadsPodcast and check us out.
Yeah.
But we got a lot more coming. We got some very exciting interviews coming up in the next several weeks. So be on the lookout for those. But I think for now, Matt, anything else?
Yeah, interviews are coming back, everybody. Get ready. Strap in for that.
Strap in. For now, I think that was this week's Guitar Dads Podcast.
All right, keep rock alive. Catch you on the flip.